October 2016, my longtime friend and conflict transformation superhero, John Saroof, walked into Hire 107, a room I often teach in at Southern Methodist University, and blew up my class. He wasn't armed. All he had to do was ask if anyone was talking about the upcoming presidential election. You have never seen 35 heads hit the desk so fast. My students were, I was, and I'm gonna kill you. You may be just imagining yourself in that moment. But if you think about it, that question really shouldn't freak us out. Why aren't we talking about the upcoming election? Or race, or guns, or immigration, or other things that are really important in our lives together? We're not talking about those things because we are as polarized right now as at any time in the history of our country. And to show you what this looks like, I've got 6 very brave volunteers, so if you'd come up on stage with me. They have no idea what I'm about to ask them to do. Okay. Thank you. So if you all actually would be sort of on this side of the stage, and I need you to make 2 lines, so 3 people facing 3 people. So your backs, half of you have, your backs will be to that wing of the stage, your backs will be to that wing of the stage, so look at them. Oh. Yep. Okay, and actually I need one more person over here. Everybody needs a partner. And if you would, make a bridge between you at about nose level with your fingertips just touching. Okay, a little bit higher. Yeah, there you go. This is what the political landscape of the United States looked like in 1994, based on work done by the Pew Research Center. So as you can see, and actually let me give you some detail. So this is people with, I'm way too short, consistently conservative viewpoints, folks with consistently liberal viewpoints, and where people's hands are in the middle and reaching there, that's where viewpoints about national issues converged. So as you can see, there are real differences, and I don't want to minimize the differences. But there was also a pretty significant mountain in the middle if we want to think about this as a landscape. By 2017, that landscape had changed. So if everybody up here would take about a half a step back and then drop your hands to waist level, but still kind of touching. Yeah, there you go. What you're seeing is the loss of common ground in our country. And it's actually worse than this. By 2018, people were more willing than ever to say that not only did they disagree about those important national issues, but the people on the other side of those national issues were not only wrong, but that they wished to harm our nation. So what happens in this situation, in this kind of polarized situation, is we become really vigilant for that harm. We're looking for it. And it leads to the kind of stuck and dysfunctional conversations that go very quickly to talking points. You could probably all have an argument with yourself about any major national issue right now. You know both sides. You don't have to listen. Maybe you've trained yourself out of listening. When we do this, when we're in these polarized climates, we're looking for that vigilance, and we're not listening, we flatten people. So that woman across the street who makes fantastic blueberry muffins, who knows everything about birds, who plays the cello, just becomes Betty the Republican in that moment. Or maybe it's the guy down the street who's always in the park with his kids, who loves to skateboard, who fixes lawnmowers, who's on the PTA. He just becomes JJ the Democrat. Communities like this, like these, like ours right now, are weak communities. So you all up here, I have one more task. If you would step back so you can't quite reach each other and actually lean away from each other. Now, what would happen if a strong disruption came along, an earthquake or a wind? Sort of, if you could act that out a little bit. Great, thank you. Okay, you're having way too much fun with this. That's actually the weak community. There's nothing there to catch you. You will fall down. It takes a lot of courage, right, to make the connections that will save that communities. Because here's the thing, our communities are only as strong as our ability to connect across difference. Let me say that again. Our communities are only as strong as our ability to connect across difference. But that connection takes a whole lot of courage. So you all can take your seats. Thank you so much. That connection takes courage because we are hardwired to react against viewpoint threats, something that goes against a deeply held belief or value or experience, in the same way that we react against physical threats. Your body is really terrible at telling the difference between that person who just said that thing that violates a deeply held belief or value and somebody coming at you with a baseball bat. And those same reactions that are really useful in the physical fight, right, fighting back, running away, freezing in place, lead to the kind of stuck and dysfunctional conversations you could all imagine when I talked about my friend coming in and blowing up my class that day by asking if anyone was asking about the election. Right? It takes real courage to overcome those reactions, or to get curious enough about something to prevent them from happening in the first place. Classrooms are a perfect place to find and practice that courage, because all of the same things that make speaking and listening across difference hard around our family dinner tables, at places of work, right, at the local bar, also exist in classrooms, only in smaller spaces with less comfortable seating, with people you don't choose to be with, and grades. But classrooms are special. They're opportunity centers. Because what we teach in classrooms isn't just history or math or sociology. It's how to be together in a curious space. And getting curious about something, leaning into that curiosity, is how we can overcome that reactive self that can't believe you just said that cat videos are the best thing on the internet, when we all know the chameleon videos are the best thing on the internet. But that curiosity takes courage, and that courage takes structures to help it come out. You might think of it, those structures, as the training wheels that can help us lean into the wobble that comes from meeting something new or different. Classrooms are a really great place to put those structures in place, both for teachers and students. And that's something I've come to call teaching brave. Because teaching brave goes both ways. It both means that teachers have to teach bravely, right, draw on their own courage, and that they need to help others draw on practice and find their own. Right? Believe me, this is not something I was doing as recently as that last election cycle. Right? There's a reason my students freaked out at that question. Right? I had not put the structures into place so that we could ask, are you talking about the upcoming election? Or tell me a story that would help me understand how it is you came to believe what you believe about guns, or abortion, or immigration. Right? It actually took a teacher, it took my friend that day, who blew up my class, but then had their heads off the desk and had them deeply engaged within about 3 minutes, to teach me that this was something really important. Because I had not been inviting those conversations into my class, I had missed an opportunity to be brave. For me and for my students, I had really missed an opportunity for them to engage with each other and with the world. So how do we do it? How do we teach brave? We've been working on this ever since. And the first thing is to make it a priority. Nobody likes the current political and social status quo. As one of my students put it last year, she is, and I quote, waiting for the death of Western civilization under the weight of Twitter and all of its friends. Friends was capitalized. So when asked if she would like to try listening with curiosity and resilience to someone with a different or even challenging point of view, she was game, even eager to try. Then curiosity really is a superpower. Really. People want to know things, and they want to be known. So taking the time to teach people to ask curious questions as opposed to rhetorical ones that just make a point allows people to practice that curiosity. It opens up the space for that curiosity. Folks get curious about each other, about viewpoints. They even get curious about course materials. Maybe you'll get curious about Aristotle or statistics. But again, curiosity is a skill and it takes practice. So we need to take the time to teach it and then to agree to use it in the space of a classroom so that people can exercise those curiosity muscles that we all have. We need to teach listening. When you think about it, most of the places we're in, like this one, really emphasize speaking or writing. When's the last time you got a grade or a certificate or a trophy for listening? But listening is a skill that can be valued and practiced and taught. Teaching brave means holding up listening as a value and then giving people the tools to do it better. Maybe this means asking people, how do you know you're being listened to? And could you please model those behaviors? Or making agreements to not interrupt, or to ask those curious questions based on something somebody else said. And finally, teaching brave means practicing brave a lot, all the time. Class discussions, dialogues, moments of reflection before you speak, right? Or conversations about how we want to be together, all makes that possible. Every space we're in, right? Classrooms, social spaces, everything we do in those spaces invites certain practices, attitudes, and behaviors, or discourages or even prevents others. We want to invite brave. In doing so, I've seen my students do amazing things. 2 years ago, it was a woman who wrote in a reflection after a class dialogue that she had never before told anyone what religion she is because of things she'd heard about that religion. She took the chance and she did it. Her classmates listened carefully, and for the first time ever, she felt like she belonged. Last year, I watched another woman take a deep and troubled breath before saying what was true for her about a contentious issue, knowing that most of her classmates would not agree. She did it. I also watched as her classmates took a deep and troubled breath, listening with resilience, and then asked curious questions about how it is she had come to hold that position. They didn't agree. They did walk out of class together to go study for the midterm. And that's what this is about. Teaching brave isn't about teaching conformity or even deliberation. It's about teaching with the possibility of complexity, of honesty, of compassion, of humanization, or maybe even something more. Another student put it this way: I have come to understand that the way we learn to love someone, really love someone, is by listening, really listening to them. What happens in classrooms has the potential to go far beyond, because here's the secret. Every one of you is a teacher. We are all teachers. In our homes, in our houses of worship, in our neighborhoods, at the grocery store, at the gym. But you have to be brave enough to try. Thank you.